All right, I believe this is Digital Journal 13, y'all. So just went and handle some things and whatnot. I'm not on my second copy yet. Somebody said, well, will he pardon him? No, absolutely not. He's not gonna do that. No, that was somebody asking me something. So yeah. I'm gonna post this up today, or might post it up tomorrow. I try to do these things on a daily, but one of the things I want to talk about was like in the workplace about personal space. And the thing with people, one thing that people liked about working remote is you don't have people hovering with their breath over your desk, or really invading your personal space that you're not used to. If you have a significant other, if a guy, if his wife's there, he don't mind his wife being right there. That's his wife, or whatever. If she has a question or whatnot. Sometimes it gets very distracted working from home. It's hard to work from home sometimes, especially if you got kids running around. So I understand why some people want to do hybrid to get back. But the transition, like even with me, it was different because I'm not used to people being that close to me. I'm not used to it. Sometimes it's overbearing because, I'm not used to really getting sick too often. I'm not used to hearing people cough and sneeze. I'm not used to, going into some of the restrooms and seeing people not really washing their hands really all like that much. I mean, people are doing a little more than what they were, but y'all remember how it was before. You'd have folks doing all kind of stuff. Hygiene gets out of the water. And for me, remote cut down a lot of work politics. People say, well, yeah, it's lonely. So now you get back into these environments and people are, they're closer than what you might want at the time. So it's a big transition because I'm real big on personal space. I'm real big on personal space. I don't really I give people their personal space. So another thing I want to kind of talk about was, and I might do this, I'm going to do this in podcast form too, is and this especially happens with the brothers and sisters, when you have other coworkers that sometimes they don't really have no managerial authority, but they can use self-deputization. Well, hey, I'm Brad, or I'm Becky, and I'm just making sure you're doing what you need to be doing. You're not my manager, and you're not anybody of any authority. But because they're like, okay, I'm blind and present, so I'm automatically self-deputizing myself against you to make sure you're doing what you need to be doing. Nobody asked them to do that. Nobody, this is a volunteering. It's a common practice of RWS volunteering. Everybody knows what RWS. You've been following me long enough. It's a common practice in the workplace. I haven't really had that issue. Really haven't had that, but sometimes you have certain looks, and you can kind of tell where someone's looking at you like they want to say something. They really don't have nothing to say. But another thing that the young brothers and sisters need to understand about the workplace, the work, you would think it's 85%. No. The communication and just being buddy and just the politics is 45%, if not more, of the work. So all of you have been through this, where you get somewhere and you be sitting there and you just want to do your work and mind your business. Some people say it's keeping your head low. Well, if you do that, a lot of times you may offend people because there might be some conversations that's going on that might be very non-constructive, not constructive at all, or whatever the case may be, and you may not want to partake in that. You might kind of ha it off and then just go back to what you're doing. Well, then now what happens to you is you're targeted as, he's not playing ball. He's not doing what he's supposed to be doing. Well, you're doing every single thing in your job description, but you may not want to talk about certain subjects that don't pertain to you. And then some of the subjects that don't pertain to you, you may not want, if they do pertain to you, you may not want to voice an opinion. because the opinion's not going to be popular, depending upon where the environment you was in. Like I told you about the liberal Karen. That was supposed to be the most law and order, and I see some people in the comments, and I appreciate the comments, even the ones that I don't like, because you know what, I'm gonna tell you something. If people ain't commenting on your stuff and they ain't hating, you're not reaching nobody. And that's one thing I had to realize. Somebody said that me pointing out what the sneak attack of the Karens was weird, because he's probably one of those guys that be at your job deputizing you. He's probably one of them dudes that's sitting around, and every time he sees you, he has to run over and be a taskmaster. Nobody asked him to do that. So that's just by osmosis. When he walks in that door and he sees you, you're available for mistreatment and be a taskmaster. What are you doing, Sharmika? What are you doing, Jerome? I'm just drinking my coffee. I'm still learning. See, when you hit him with that, oh, well, what do you think about this? And what do you think about that? And you're like, okay, get your ass up out of here. What do you want? Why don't you find something to do? So don't take that as just friendly conversation and friendly banter. You know that it's not. Don't ever get confused and think that it's just being friendly banter when somebody's coming and tapping you on your shoulder and invading your space every 5 seconds. And that's another reason. A lot of people that had a lot of power trips, Brainiac Brad and Kinetic Karen, they had a power trip because they were able to throw their weight around at work. Once they got put into the remote job, they had to do it they had to change their ways about how they're doing it, because it's digital now. Like when the lady was saying something slick about, it was the formatting or the grammar, whether she said something about the grammar. And I said, was it the formatting or the grammar? So it was the formatting. It wasn't the grammar. It was the formatting of the sentence. But then to put that public, now see, you're demeaning me in front of a whole group of people. And then you try to cover it up. So I pointed that out. That's not being weird. That's me staying constructive. Now, think about this. If I would have been in that office and in that environment during that time, during the pandemic when that occurred, what do you think I would have been subjected to? What do you think? I want y'all to listen to me. What do you think I would have been subjected to if they're doing stuff like that? Well, you can't use these certain words, DP. They can use those words, but you can't. How far do you think the goalpost would have moved? You see what I'm saying? So, like when I was talking to a lot of my homies that I might have helped get in the IT, or just people emailing, man, what you think about where this remote thing's going to go? I said, they're going to try to put a lot of folks back in office. Well, what's the solution, DP? What can you do? Well, there's cybersecurity. If you're laid off, you might have to get back into the layer 1 and field support, because that's what's open. Refresh projects and stuff, you might have to consider that. If you're not a cybersecurity or Kubernetes guru and you want to just stay remote or hybrid, then that's something or go to Trailhead, get some Salesforce. They always need some Salesforce people, and get a Salesforce contract. There was one that just reached out to me not too long ago. It was Salesforce support. Now, I haven't used Salesforce in a while, but if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now, I would have took it. I needed some exercise, so I thought it would be good for me to be on site. And because things are siloed to a certain degree where I just need to do what I need to do and just keep it moving, it's not a ton of pressure. Whereas like that last ISP trash I was dealing with, where someone's pinging you every 5 minutes about every damn ticket, and you got customers calling you just berating you because the service was trash. That was different, but that was just to get me through. Because like I said, I haven't been in that position in a very long time. But I had to bring myself back up. 2024 was a horrible year. It was rough. It was a rough year. So, but What do? I start thinking, all right, well, let me go ahead and start doing this until I can get back to where I need to be. And you got to think critically now because the value of a dollar is changing. We know that. So that's something to think about. Well, am I going to have to work remote? Well, yeah. Am I going to have to work on site? You might have to. You know, you you don't really know what the environment's going to be like, but there's so many people that's bucking the system that don't want to go back into the office and stuff. They're doing a lot of things to make the office, free coffee, lunches all the time or whatever. They don't want people to, because once somebody finds something remote and it's easier to drop their kids off, they will take less money. They will take if the position's 110,000, you got people out here that will take 75 to 80 just to stay remote, and they know that. So they're trying to make it more hybrid. They're trying to make it. A lot of companies now, like Dell and all of them, they're pushing for 5 days straight. They're pushing it, and some people just quit. There's some people that just left their whole industry and said, "No, I'm going to find something remote," because there's something remote. It just may not pay as much. Because see, the next thing is they're going to start bringing in H-1B visas. That's what they really want to do. They want to come in and just undermine the American people. Be like, all right, well, we'll just hire a dude over here from India for like 14, 15 bucks an hour. He'll come. He ain't tripping. He'll do it. He'll do $50 an hour work for 20 bucks an hour or less. He'll do it. And they know that. So, that's just something to think about. As far as my opinion, I just released story time. I got about, now that I'm going back into my career and thinking about stuff, man, I'm thinking the stories out the woodwork. And some of these stories are kind of dark. Some of these stories and some of these things that happen and some of these events and stuff, they don't all end with a good story where I'm just sitting around a damn computer or something like that. Like some of these things that kind of shaped me to who I was, and some of these events and stuff, they're not all of them are very good. I got one in mind that I'm gonna tell y'all. I thought about, man, I said, no, I'm gonna tell it. Y'all didn't come to this channel for just the old ABC, get your CompTIA. Y'all looking for the story. How did I end up doing all this? Because like I said, the books done already told you how to get in the game. Y'all are here listening to me right now because you want to hear the story. You don't need no more information from me on how to get in this game and do this and get some money. Those 2 books have already showed you how to do that. You still listening to me because you want to hear what happened. What's the adventures of DP? What's the story? That's why you here. That's why I think you here. You want to be entertained too. I like to. Man, I wish I could have a story like this when I was coming out of high school, where we had YouTube, or YouTube was, I wish I could have had something like this. I wish I could have had something like this for myself, where I could have listened to somebody like me telling, hey, this is the corporate side of things, but also this is how he got on, and these are the trials and the tribulations that he went through in Minneapolis or whatever. I sure wish I would have had something like this, because you're getting 2 books and you're getting story times. See, you getting the corporate side of stuff, but then you getting the, you got to think about, like, when we used to listen to music. I'm doing this like the music. We listen to the music, and then now we want to hear the story of the artist. Like, okay, what was his story? That's the story. I'm giving y'all the stories, all of them. I'm gonna give them all to you. And if people don't like the stories and they don't want to listen to the stories, go listen to Stephen A. Smith or some sports folks or something like that or whatever. You go listen to them, But the people that are here to subscribe and enjoy it, I'm going to keep giving them y'all. I'm going to keep giving them to y'all until y'all rise up, until all 100 plus subscribers and say, you know what, I'm sick of it. Hang it up. I don't want to hear the story no more. And then I'll stop. When y'all don't want to hear it no more, I'll stop. Because I could be doing other things with my time. So, but it's therapeutic for me and I enjoy it. So, but yeah, I'm going to load this up. We got a story time. I found some dates of where I lived and stuff like that. And so there's going to be a bunch of story times based on that and kind of what I'm doing. But I need some information from some of my buddies on certain things, flyers and stuff like that, so I could really speak to, like, because some of that stuff is a blur. 04, I don't really know what was going on. 05, I could kind of do a little bit of that. But for me to really, really, really get deep into the, because what the heavy tech stuff start coming beginning of 07. That's when, soon as I got that knowledge, because I already knew how to build the computers and stuff like that, but the software, when I started learning this software part, that's when it got big. So I'm gonna upload this for y'all. Peace.